Okay, so the market closes for 5 years. Look, valuations will mean revert, will always move around. That's fine. But if you go back over history, in the long run, earnings growth will ultimately drive the great winners of the future. As I said, there's a very small portion of stocks that actually win in the long run, and earnings growth will drive it. And so to identify the earnings growth, you need to look at who's got the biggest total market opportunity, who has the biggest total addressable market. And right now, unfortunately, that is Amazon. Amazon has the largest opportunity in e-commerce or retail. It makes up about 40% of e-commerce in the US. E-commerce is 8% of all commerce in the US. We think the 8% will probably go to 30% over the next 5 years. And if Amazon holds its 40%, which we think is a reasonable assumption, then Amazon will be 12% of all retail spending in the US in 5 years' time, from 3% today. So that's a 4x growth. On top of that, they have cloud computing. Cloud computing is 10% of all compute at the moment. Amazon is 80% of cloud compute functions at the moment. Cloud computing is clearly going to go to 30 or 40% of all computing over time. Amazon's probably not going to hold its 80% share, but even if it holds its 50% share, then its cloud computing business is going to grow 4 or 5x over the next 5 to 10 years. And so, assuming they can run a reasonable margin on both of those, then the earnings of this company are going to be 4 to 5 times higher in the future. And ultimately, regardless of the valuation you pay today, it may mean revert, but ultimately that 4 to 5 times earnings will outweigh whatever mean reversion you get in the valuation in the long run. Yeah, so I'm not surprised to see Amazon not do that well since they started in Australia, because they didn't really turn up. I think the media built this into being something much bigger than it was, because they felt that Australian retailers would struggle. People need to understand that Amazon is actually the Amazon Prime offering. 70% of Amazon's sales in e-commerce are the Amazon Prime offering. The Amazon Prime offering involves them building $1 billion distribution centre here in Sydney, and not just 1, 2 or 3. They'd have to build 2 in Melbourne, and I never saw them building those. You would know if they were building $1 billion distribution centre, because they would be hiring 20 to 30,000 people, and the land that they would need to take. And so they have made a small entry. I think they're doing a test in the market. Ultimately, I hope they come and do a bigger entry, but if I was Amazon, there are other countries I'd probably go to first. And so I'm not surprised to see them do a smaller entry into Australia. But ultimately, if you get on a plane and went to America or went to the UK or went to Germany, Amazon is a completely different experience to the one that they're offering here in Australia at the moment.